The original Resident Evil 3 is one of the most dramatic adventures the video game industry produced. If you had a PlayStation, and you were of age, or had irresponsible parents in the late 90s, it barely needs an introduction. But in case it slipped your grasp, it freshened the RE formula up with new ideas that wouldn't be topped until Resident Evil Outbreak added multiplayer. However, I, a younger gamer spoiled by RE4's advancements, needed time to adjust to the fixed camera angles. Not everyone is as patient as I am. Realizing this, Capcom struck off the heels of RE2 Remake's gargantuan success, revitalizing the third entry to deliver Resident Evil 3 Remake, to mixed reception. Some die-hard RE fans despise this game, immediately writing it off for cutting content from the original, completely ignoring several smaller improvements taken for granted, or the fact its design philosophies shifted amid new developers handling old ideas. Rather than bicker what a remake should or shouldn't be, I took RE3 Remake at face value and compared it to what the original has to offer, concluding the game is good, but not as good as it could have been. Like its 1999 counterpart, RE3 Remake is a cinematic adventure game with a heavy emphasis on sights and player skill, using the power of today's PCs to bring your, and by extent Jill's, fears alive like never before. Suffice to say, the visuals speak for themselves. They don't need coverage. But I gotta gush about the perfected presentation. These games remain graphical tour de forces of current hardware. Lethal hunter lizards hiss and holler while they scavenge for prey, their jaws twitching as they wait around the corners, ready to strike with scythe-like claws. That model's good! Meanwhile, your persistent pursuer, Nemesis, bulges and stretches his flesh to attain beastly and eldritch-looking forms that would have been unfeasible on a PS1. And if that wasn't impressive enough, Capcom later updated the game with ray-traced reflections for PS5 and NASA computer owners, snuffing out the lights in the water with showers of bloodshed, all while maintaining impressively smooth frame rates even on weaker hardware. It's all too easy to take hardware for granted. Seeing meticulous optimization is a great change of pace from most modern games. It can make or break a sale. Visuals thoroughly admired, let's go over what matters most. Core game mechanics. Original RE3 pit you against battalions of bioweapons, more than any Resident Evil before it. To even the odds, the devs expanded the combat beyond shoot or run, adding a parry system that would move you out of harm's way if you time it right. It's a brilliant mechanic, providing pristine show-off potential once it's mastered. You know the old phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Rather than reinvent the wheel a la RE2 Remake, RE3 Remake leaves the combat alone, improving what's already there to perfection. The original game was fairly picky about parry positioning. You had to be directly facing whatever you wanted to dodge, which works well for Nemesis, but more often than not, regular zombies would veer out of your way before you tackle them, making the dodge whiff completely. Now, in the modern day, the parries are not only less stingy, but attacking immediately after a successful roll increases the damage of that blow tenfold, making it even more satisfying than it was in the classic game. No knife deterioration or anything counterintuitive to the ideas. The combat is perfect in the RE3 Remake. But the level design is where Capcom diverged, for better and worse. Either due to a rushed development cycle, or wanting to differentiate Remake from original, RE3 Remake is a mostly linear affair with scarce exploration and little randomization. Branching paths are gone along with puzzle and item randomization, trading replayability for competitive appeal. This is either a win or a loss depending on your taste in games. On one hand, you don't gotta reload your save file repeatedly to get the weapons you like, which was a massive pain in the neck. My condolences to those masochistic speedrunners. But on the other hand, Nemesis is a little less intimidating on repeat playthroughs since it can't attack you unexpectedly. I can't comment on the changes without bias. However, I think anyone remotely interested in play value unanimously agrees losing notable amounts of content in the remake stings. No clock tower, which is baffling since it's not an optional area on all routes. And no mercenaries mode, especially notable since RE2 Remake revitalized all the DualShock Edition extras a year prior. In their place is a second loot with deadlier enemies and rearranged item locations, plus a separate multiplayer game called Resident Evil Resistance, which warrants its own review. They're great inclusions, but RE2 Remake also got extra scenarios after its release, so that doesn't excuse mercenaries being missing. Look, I'm gonna be level with you. This is the only reason why RE3 loses so many points on my evaluation. I wouldn't have bothered earning the coveted S rank if the action was dysfunctional or unexhilarating. But when your previous work sets such a high standard of value and polish, Whiplash immediately strikes returning fanatics. I am more than a twinge jealous the less action-oriented game got the most priority. But that won't stop me from framing the bigger picture. The radical combat ensures this game gets an A-, but it could have been an S if it was supported as much as RE2 Remake. The difference between an S and an A is an S-grade game is so exceptional to the point where it defines a standard all other games struggle to attain. Had the highly replayable Mercenaries mode been included to keep me hooked longer, RE3 Remake could have been the action game of the decade. Still, I can't complain too much about the tight skill test we're left with. Glad to see you survived 2023, and my first review of 2024 with it. It took me a while to get this done, but I think the result is definitive. Now I just have to tweak a few things backstage to get another one out to make up for last month. Remember, there will be plenty more where this came from. Happy New Year's, everyone!